In this video, what I want to talk about is the Zen of Python. The Zen of Python is a collection of guiding principles for writing computer programs in the Python language. Since we're doing Python, why not cover this? I thought this was cool and neat. It was written by Tim Peters and outlines the design philosophy of Python. If you run the command import this, and we'll do this in a second, you'll see that you could do the Python interpreter or the script, by the way, and you'll see the Zen of Python displayed. So let's add this and let's run this and talk through this. So I'm in PyCharm. If I say import this, and then I print this, and I'll run this, right click, run example. I'll see that I get exactly that, right? So this is the Zen of Python by Tim Peters. Beautiful is better than ugly. Explicit is better than implicit. These rules, by the way, or guidelines, I should say, they are a guideline that you should think about when writing code, not only in Python, but I tend to think about in other when I'm writing in other languages as well. So this is very translatable to other programming languages that you may be working in. So simple is better than complex. And again, instead of, making code that's not readable or as readable, when you make things explicit, you're calling things out, you're making it obvious for us and other developers in our team to kind of come back and look at the code and make sense of it. It's going to be better. Complex is better than complicated, right? And that's not to say that the programming, projects that we're working on are not complex and have a lot of moving pieces. That's just to say that we want to strive to simplifying things wherever we can. They can have a lot of moving pieces, but every moving piece should be easy and simple and easy to understand and to go through. Flat is better than nested. Again, just something that we can easily think about. Sparse is better than dense. Readability counts. This is a big principle, not only for Python, but for any programming language. I think this is a big deal. And as you can imagine, this would reduce bugs in the future, and it would make your code less prone to errors. Special cases aren't special enough to break the rules. Sometimes we want to make, for example, a function or a method do so many different things and take all these different parameters. Just in case we pass something, we could accept it and tweak, our function body and do things. Well, that's not the guiding principle here. It's better to simplify things and think about these. By the way, these are just guidelines. These are not rules that you cannot break. You have to think about them and see what's an advantage and disadvantage in your use case. But the idea here is that you at least think about it and you justify whether you should do something or not, whether you should break the whether you should break the guiding principle or not. Although practicality beats purity, so being practical is super important. Errors should never pass silently. You should always try accept blocks whenever you have some code that could result in an error or an exception. That's just one example. Unless explicitly silenced, right? Unless you really thought about this and that was your approach. In the face of ambiguity, refuse the temptation to guess. You should never guess how something's going to work. It should be obvious. This increases readability and correctness. And again, it talks about all those goals that we want to make sure that our code is behaving as it should. There should be one, and preferably only one, obvious way to do it. Although that may not be obvious at first unless you're Dutch. I guess that's a funny line here, but the idea here is that you want to make sure that you optimize when needed as well, and don't over-optimize too early. But the idea is that you can't optimize until you get something working anyway, and then you see some of the holes or some of the weaknesses about your code, then you can improve it if needed. That's the way I take this. Now is better than never, so that means that having something now is better than having something, 10 months from now, or maybe never. Well, in this case, never, right? That's what it says here. It's better to have something than not have anything. It's better to go to the gym today than not work out today because you said you're going to go next week. So even if you don't get the perfect exercise in because for whatever reason you didn't have the energy, this is what this reminds me of anyway, not to go on a tangent, but now is better than never. Start something, start somewhere. The second line kind of goes against the previous, in that it says, although never is often better than right now. So just doing something right now really fast, just passionately, just because you want to, may be a bad idea. This is what this speaks to. So think about planning it out just a little tiny bit more, just to get things rolling in the right approach, rather than just doing something really quickly just because you can and you don't want to, take the time and think about it, or be lazy and do it right. So anyway, kind of contradicting, but it's something to think about, and I think it makes sense and it's important. If the implementation is hard to explain, it's often a bad idea, right? You should have code in programs that you could, at a high level, explain really hard things that you've done in a really easy and understandable way. Again, this kind of goes with it as well. If the implementation is easy to explain, it may be a good idea. So, again, you should be able to explain things that are hard. Not only does that mean you understand it, that means that anybody that goes back to the code can easily flow through the logic just like you explained it. That's the way I take this as well. Again, this is just my take on it, but I did want to show you the Zen of Python in your IDE, and you can run this on the terminal as well, or in your IDE like this. Namespaces are one honking great idea. Let's do more of those. And that's the last one. So basically meaning that we should namespace our code and variables and methods, right? So that we can have less conflicts within code. So if I have a method that's called hello and you have a method that's called hello, and there's a file that imports both hellos, right? Both files with hellos on it. How does Python decide which hello to use? Ed's or somebody else's? And so this is what this is speaking to. So again, just hoping to get this out there so that you see what the idea behind the Zen of Python is.